What's that? What's that smell? Smells like a bonus show. Dies in your house? One goal for the next 2 months. One goal for 2018. And that's to take back the house. And we're only going to do that by going out and voting. I mean, I know the civil rights movement didn't exactly end racism, but I thought we were further along than this. It's a known fact that the reason I don't have any friends is solely because I'm a liberal who cares about other people and doesn't want to see brown people and women suffer at the hands of old, rich, white men who have been in power for way too long. Nazis? Bad. Free press? Good. The most dangerous thing you can do is sit back and think that America has no chance of ever turning into an autocracy or some sort of authoritarian regime when you have a fascist regime on the rise right now, unchecked by Congress, which makes November the most important election of our lives. J Pork's Least Coast Radio, Dies in Your House, J Pork's podcast. We must resist or we won't exist. Taking it back in November. Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Hey yo, who's in the house? Dies in your house. What goes on, peeps? What is the word? It is a wacky Wednesday morning, and we are here with another action-packed edition of Dies in Your House. Here on Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. If you haven't heard, we got a podcast channel. We keep it rocking, and I suggest you stay subscribed to Least Coast Radio on iTunes and on YouTube, because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming your way this month. In the month of September, every episode of the J Parks podcast is exclusively on Least Coast Radio. And that means it's a one-stop shop. It's a one-stop shop. You go to Least Coast Radio, you get every Friday, you get a brand new episode of Dies in Your House. Every Monday, you're going to get a brand new episode of the J Parks podcast. And today is Wednesday, and you're getting what is sort of a bonus show. It may not be a bonus show. We'll talk about it in 1 second. It's going to be very long, so don't worry. So, big week. It's always a big week. And I really wish that, democracy was in a safer place than it is now. Because I promise you guys, I don't know if alright, well, as you know, I used to talk about funny things and normal things and regular life annoyances on my podcast and music and stuff like that. And I promise you guys, if the midterms in November turn out the way we need them to turn out in terms of creating a definite check on the executive office, then I promise you we'll get some Wacky Wednesday episodes of Dies in Your House that I go out of my way to avoid politics on. I'll do that for you if you can do something for me, and that's go out and vote. And if you're in New York, tomorrow, Thursday, September 13th, we got a primary. We got the governor primary, lieutenant governor, attorney general. So you guys got to get out there And you guys gotta vote. And we gotta vote people who are gonna hold the fascist regime rising in this country accountable. And you could assist in doing that. Assist in helping along Least Coast Radio by getting yourself some exclusive bonus content that doesn't come on the channel. You can get yourself some exclusive personalized artwork by yours truly. You can even get a direct line to the podcast. You can come on the podcast. We can chop it up. We can chop it up. You can DM me. Like, I tweeted this out the other day. If anyone likes the podcast so much that they feel the need to get in contact with me, my DMs are open on Twitter. And if anybody hates the podcast enough where they feel the need to get in touch with me, my DMs are open on Twitter. At me, bro. No, but in all seriousness, and you can, all of this stuff is readily available, and all you gotta do is become a Least Coast Radiohead on Patreon. That's right. You become a Least Coast Radiohead. There are 3 different tiers, and you get different stuff, and it's just great stuff, man. And right now, I don't know if you guys have been reading the tea leaves, but it's September 12th. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and yes, my neighbors are eventually going to leave a note on my door that says, hey, stop crying your liberal tears at 4 a.m. We have jobs. I don't have a job. Because I, for the past 3 years, worked at a Catholic school as a paraprofessional, one-on-one in the classroom, assisting a student with his individual education plan, helping forward the education of the youth of America, one student at a time. That's what I did. But those kids graduated. They graduated 8th grade. They're going to high school. Imagine that. Those kids in my class. The homies. So, like, they're going to high school, so I don't have a student. I work through a temp agency. I've probably explained this before, but I want things to be personalized, you know? I'm not just some guy, you know? I used to be normal. I really did. I used to be normal, and I used to have real life problems. And I used to not be so patriotic. But I am. Times have changed, and we have to protect this country. And we have to hashtag take it back. So, I work through a temp agency as a para, but, you know, I check my email every day. I am yet to receive any formal offers for work. There are no open jobs in Staten Island, apparently. I mean, you know, sometimes in about an hour, I'll probably get I'll get an email from the agency about a couple of jobs in the Bronx, but they know I don't have a car, so those aren't jobs. I'm not in the area. Basically, the thing with the substituting is they want to find people in the area, so obviously they know I can't get there. But there has not been any Staten Island sub positions, nothing like that. So what I did was I kept applying for unemployment, and I like not working, and I like being able to podcast whenever I want. So that's what I do now. So that's why you might notice, like, even my tweet pattern, even though, like, Twitter's not the same, they changed the algorithm a little bit, so you don't get all the tweets in chronological order anymore, and that really bugs me. Like, they'll throw a popular tweet in the middle of your timeline. Like, no. If I wasn't on Twitter when that happened, I missed it, or it will be retweeted. But anyhow, so you might notice, like, I tweet at 3 a.m. sometimes, and probably wondering, hey, does Jay sleep? Yeah, I sleep at weird times. I'm on a 3-hour nap system. I'll take like a 2 to 3 hour nap here and there. I'm like Picasso, you know? I don't know. Whatever the artist was that Kramer was imitating in that Seinfeld episode where he would take a 2-hour nap, a 20-minute nap every 2 hours. I'm doing something similar to that. I'm going to eventually get a job. But really, I'd really love to spend my 2 months focusing on the midterms because we got to get people out to vote. So that's why East Coast Radio is on the poppin'. And September has coincided with, you know, there's things going on at the Honeycomb Hideout. Listen, I mean, you guys know Andy. There's a new thing, and there's something in his life now, a new little thing in his life, a new little wrinkle, you know, that you know, he doesn't have as much time like me dedicated to the podcast. He has a job. I do not. So I am here bringing it to you on East Coast Radio for the Least Heard Voices. And that's going to be all of September, possibly into the future. I really don't know. We'll see how long Andy wants to put up with my liberal tears. But the podcast that's coming to you this week is sort of a bonus show. It has not been on iTunes. It has not been on YouTube. The only place it was Archive, and archive.org, and I shared the link, but I'm not sure how many people got it. So I want to make sure that we get it to you. So 2 weeks ago, I went on vacation with my girlfriend's sister, her husband, their 2 kids, my girlfriend's kid, the 2 dogs. I'm sorry, they're 3 kids, 2 kids and a baby, and their 2 dogs. And I usually don't like dogs, but these dogs are awesome. I swear. I'm not just saying that. They were really nice. Odie actually found my vape, which was good. Thanks, Odie. So it was a beach house, North Carolina, Outer Banks. And if that sounds familiar to you, that's because they had the Outer Banks of North Carolina and South Carolina, and most of the coastal area in that part has been evacuated because there's a Category 4 storm heading that way. Category 4 hurricane, and you know, don't take this the wrong way, but here's the thing. I had a lot of fun that week, and we've already been invited back, and I really need that house to survive. So if any damage is going to be done to that house, I would hope that it's enough where it would be cheaper to rent it for the week, but at the same time, I would like to go back, because I'm talking this house was 20 steps from the beach. Crazy. So I recorded a podcast before I went that week because I wanted to make sure that in your iTunes feed there was continuous flow of Jay Pork's podcast. I'm not one of those people, I say it again, that goes away, goes on vacation, has something to do, and shuts off the news cycle. I don't. All week it was on the beach, it was on the porch, it was in the pool, and at every moment in our room, MSNBC was on. We had John McCain funeral, Aretha Franklin. We had Bruce Orr tweets. We had Paul Manafort's banker cooperating. A whole bunch of stuff went down when we were there. But I recorded I recorded a very long podcast about Flint, the water in Flint, Michigan, and how it's not better. About Puerto Rico, and about how more people died in Puerto Rico in Hurricane Maria than died during Hurricane Katrina. And yet the fascist regime touts it as a success. Very nice. No, very bad. And I also talked about police brutality. And I called it that. I said Flint, Puerto Rico, and police brutality. That was the title of the podcast. It should have just been lawyers, guns, and money. Lawyers for Flint, guns for police, money for Puerto Rico. Boom, bing, bang, boom. That's how everybody talks, right? Bing, bang, boom. Yeah. So, that podcast may not have reached you. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm bringing it to you right here on East Coast Radio. For the least heard voices. It's going to follow me. All this spiel I'm doing right now, it's going to follow that. So you get a little taste. It's Wacky Wednesday. Yesterday was, of course, 9/11. And you know what? If you want, I'm not a regular guy. I didn't update my status with where I was on September 11th, 2001. And I'll tell you why. Because that's a bonus show. Origin stories are bonus shows. And bonus shows, bonus content is what you get if you become a East Coast Radiohead at patreon.com/jporks. Become a pork star. There's several tiers. And they're still on the cheap. They're on the cheap until the end of the month. Because I love you. And because I need you. So in this, I just want to preface in this podcast, I left for vacation on August 24th. So I recorded this a couple of days before that. Parts of this was recorded before the Manafort verdicts came in. And then later on in the podcast, you'll see that the Manafort verdict came in when I was recording more of it. You'll notice it. So I'm prefacing it now. This is from 3 weeks ago. But, unfortunately, Flint, Michigan, Puerto Rico, and police brutality are problems with the water in Flint, Michigan. Not actual Flint, Michigan. The water in Puerto Rico, the water in Flint, Michigan, the destruction of Puerto Rico, and unarmed black kids getting killed in inner cities. I mean, unfortunately, these are topics that are not going away. These are topics that it's not like, oh, that happened 3 weeks ago, it's old news. These topics are never old news, because these topics are always news. Puerto Rico is continuous news. Flint, I'm going to talk about Flint. We're going to, man, like there's stuff that, it's not going to be, you know what? I'm not even going to spoil it for you. I'm going to bring it to you right here on East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. So again, this is Dies in Your House, Wacky Wednesday, but it is also episode 239 of the J Porks podcast. Lawyers, guns, and money. And let's get into it on the other side when we come back after this. J Porks here. And I know I've been a little busy on this East Coast Radio stuff. Talking about resist, remove, and recreational. But I gotta tell you about one more thing. You should be a East Coast Radiohead. That's right. And you can become a East Coast Radiohead just by going to patreon.com/jporks and check out the offers we have there. There's a low tier, a middle tier, and a high tier. All of those get you bonus content, exclusive personalized artwork, and even a chance to interact with me on a personal level over the phone. We could talk about what's going on in this podcast. We could talk about how we are going to flip these seats blue in November. And we are going to vote like this is our final election, because it might be. Patreon.com/jporks. Become a East Coast Radiohead and join the resistance. This is probably the episode where I will say the word Trump the least. Enjoy it while it lasts. And it's probably not going to happen again. J Porks Podcast.
Whenever your phone could look you in the eye, you're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. So very special. I wish I was special. But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. Okay, if it hurts.
Hey yo! What is the word, people? Welcome into another action-packed edition of the J Porks Podcast, a very special edition of the J Porks Podcast. I am J Porks. With me, as always, on the other side of the glass, making sure this is a well-oiled podcast machine. Every week is the ever-popular Nobody. And on the intro there, I'm sure some of you have heard that before. That's Frank Bennett with his cover of Radiohead's "Creep." He does songs in a Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett type voice. Anyhow, and I only used 30 seconds of it, and I believe that is in line with the YouTube guidelines about playing music. Again, I do not make profit on this podcast, so I should be allowed to play songs. But that Alice in Chains song that I played a little bit too much of a couple weeks ago got me taken down, and I can't afford to have strikes. So I will bring you covers for the meanwhile, and hopefully we'll be good. All right. Let me explain to you what's going on right now. So, from August 24th up until September 1st, I believe, I am going to be with my girlfriend on vacation at a beach house in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Oh, I should have played the P.D. Pablo song. All right, well, maybe we'll get to it a little later. This is different. This is gonna be a different episode. So I'm gonna be on vacation. Now, I'm going to be following everything I can on my phone and, following the news cycle. And I will be tweeting and I will be active. It's not one of those where I'm taking, where I'm like, okay, guys, I'm not going to be one of those guys that's, okay, guys, I'm taking a break from social media because, usually when I'm around people, they don't know I'm social media-ing. You know what I'm saying? I don't, it doesn't consume my life. I can think and chew, I can talk and chew, walk and chew gum at the same time. I just can't say the freaking cliche right. Anyhow. So, as you know, the J Porks Podcast comes out every Monday. But I just laid out to you the dates Saturday to Saturday that I'm not going to be here. So you might be asking yourself, Jay, how are we going to keep up with this fascist regime, without you breaking it down for us? We like, not without me breaking it down for you, but people might be saying, hey, Jay, we like your take on things. How are we going to miss your podcast? You haven't missed a podcast since the election. And we're not. This podcast is being recorded midweek before Friday, August 24th. Now you're probably, and again, you say to yourself, Jay, the news cycle, what are you going to do? Well, we still have Dies in Your House coming out, which is coming out on the 24th. That hasn't been recorded yet. So that is most likely going to handle any Paul Manafort jury verdicts that come down, if they come down. They're still not in. And by the time you hear this, they might be in. So just, I'm pre-recording this. I've got 3 topics today. There are 3 topics that are not going to get usurped by the news cycle, because they're 3 topics that are constant things that never end, that should be brought to light more often than they are. But the problem is, there's an orange cunt monkey nutbag wannabe fascist despot asshole in an office that is oval who tweets and distracts and hires his reality show friends to come into the White House and tape him and distract from important things. Got Maggie Haberman writing articles about Don McGahn. I wonder who's, Maggie Haberman. It's Access Haberman. Go back, listen to the episode of the J Porks podcast titled Access Haberman. This is episode 238. We're talking about three things. We're going to talk about Flint and, the water. We're going to talk about Puerto Rico, and we're going to talk about police brutality. These are things that are not going to be fixed by Monday. By the time you hear this, those three things are not all going to be fixed. You know what? Spoiler, no one's even going to make any moves, any nudges towards fixing those things. So this podcast might be shorter, but it's going to be on things that, my podcast is always on things that matter, but I didn't get, I wasn't going on vacation and took a bunch of clips from old podcasts and put them together. The best of the summer. No. Everything is current with me. I can't. There's too much. Can't get behind. I can't afford to lose you for 1 week. So before we get into things, before we get into anything, let's talk about this little thing called Patreon. Patreon.com/JPorks. I don't know if I need to tell you that it's a / I don't think I would think I would need to tell you if it's a /. Anyhow, if you go to patreon.com/JPorks, if you go to Patreon, and if you search for Least Coast Radio on Patreon, you will see what's being offered if you become a Least Coast Radiohead. Now, again, there are different tiers. There are different tiers, different platforms you can join to get you more stuff. Different levels. Now, people might see this as some sort of way that I can, profit off my podcast because I don't have a job. Profit would not be the right word. To help me bring you the podcast and to help bring you more podcasts on more platforms with better software. Maybe if there was a couple of people pledging on Patreon, maybe I would be able to get out there and do on-location podcasts in places like Washington, D.C., in places like Philadelphia, in places like my girlfriend's backyard, in places like North Carolina that I'm going to be. In places like set up random spots in Manhattan. I would love to bring this show on the road. And I would love more than nothing than to reach as many people as possible. But it's hard to reach people when you can't get a Metro card, because even though you spent the school year and the past 3 school years helping forward the education of the youth of America by being a certified paraprofessional, working one-on-one with the classroom with a student who has an individual education plan, helping that student with needs that are special move along in life, in school, serving their needs to make sure that they get the equal education that, their friends in the class are getting. You know what I'm saying? I also worked the after school program where I would help kids in a group setting with their homework, but one-on-one group setting. And I would wait because I worked at a Catholic school, and private school is expensive. You have to pay for it. So I would stay with another teacher, and we would stay till 6 o'clock at night, even though we've been there since 6:37 in the morning, and wait for these parents to pick up their children, because parents gotta work to pay for their kids to go to Catholic school. fine. So I did that. And even though I did that, I wasn't pushing carts at Stop and Shop. I wasn't a bagger at Pathmark. I didn't stock the shelves at Home Depot. I didn't hold a sign for Liberty Tax in April. Like, even though I did a job that every single person in the world looks at me like I'm a goddamn hero when I tell them what my job was. Even though that, my last day of work was June 13th, and I was not awarded one unemployment payment until August 15th. Or whatever Tuesday whatever Tuesday that week was, August in the teens, between the 13th to 15th, around there. It was 2 months. 2 months. To get about $100. Now, you look at the calendar, it's August 21st. The day I'm recording this intro portion of the podcast. School's coming around. I've made, I don't know if everybody knows this yet, but I have made a decision this year to not go back to school. The student I was working with for the last 3 years graduated. He graduated to a school that doesn't, he's going to a Catholic high school. They don't have paras there. But also, he doesn't need me anymore. I mean, I helped forward his education, and I helped him get to a point where 2 years ago I wouldn't have said that he could be good. He or she could be good. But now I know that kid's going to be fine in high school because of me. Because of the way I went about things in the classroom. I was good at that job. The problem is that I don't work for the Board of Education. I work through a temp agency, and I work at a Catholic school. Therefore, for working one-on-one, doing that job, I got paid minimum wage. And listen, a job is a job. If when I was the manager of Pizza Hut making $5.75 an hour in 2006 or whatever it was, if you would have told me that I'd be making minimum double digits, in dollars an hour, full time, and I'd still be poor, I would have told you I was crazy. I would have told you were crazy. But it's insane. Now, paras that work for the Board of Education, full disclosure, they make over $100 a day. That's way more than minimum wage. So I don't have I'm not in the Board of Education. I'm not making that big money. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not getting paid that normal money for the job you would do. I'm getting paid the same amount of money that people that start at McDonald's make. It's minimum wage. Literally minimum wage. So in combination with my frustrations with that, and working a job where it's not like I'm in college to be a teacher, because I have to work I work all those hours, and I have to work before care and after care along with the full-time job, because it's minimum wage, in order to afford to live. Therefore, I don't have time to attend college to maybe finish up a teaching degree or something, which, anyone who's in their 20s who wants to be a teacher, instead of getting that side job as a waiter or something, get the side job as a para. Trust me. If you're going into that field, the experiences would be awesome to have. You would get hired so much quicker, right into the Board of Ed. But the Board of Ed, a lot of people, it's full. It's hard to get in. So with my payments, And my student graduating, I've decided that I'm not going to go back to school this year. For the 2018 year, in September, I'm going to get another job. As soon as, actually, on the ride back from North Carolina from this vacation, I'm going to fill out job applications online, anyone I could find, and set myself up for some interviews. Listen, I'm in my 30s. I've had a job since I'm 15. Getting a job has never been a problem. I'm a very employable person. You hear me. You hear how I talk. My conversational skills are off the chain. I mean, when I got the job as a waiter at Primo Pizza, I walked in and my friend told me, ask for John, he's looking for a waiter. So the guy John, who's a total scumbag, he says, he is a scumbag. I didn't know him at the time. He says, yeah, you're looking to work here? I said, well, you want me to work here. He's like, yeah? I said, yeah, I'm the best waiter on Staten Island right now. Like, ask anybody. Ask anybody that's been to restaurants about that singing waiter Jay, that funny waiter. I'm the best thing going right now. And you're missing out on an opportunity if you don't give me the job. Like, same thing with when I emailed Foxy Shazam for a press pass. I didn't say, hey man, I have this website, Concert Confessions. Can I get in? I'll buy a ticket. I just want to be able to. Oh no, I wasn't buying a ticket. I was getting in for free. But I didn't write that in the email. I wrote, hey Foxy Shazam publicist, it would be in the best interest of the band if I was to be in attendance with a press pass. It would be in your best interest, and it would get the most eyeballs on it. You know what I'm saying? Bosses like that. So what I'm looking for is some sort of, and I'm going to ask for your help right here for 1 second. If you guys know of the jobs that don't, how do I put this? Drug test? Because, listen, it is what it is. It's a stressful life. And we're fighting a legalized recreational these days. You know what I'm saying? And that fight is tough. And we need some relief from that fight. And sometimes, we inhale and exhale a bit. And that prevents us from getting jobs at places like Petco. Because I guess they have ketamine there. But like, if you know places, department stores, because I'm looking, here's what I want to do. Because I am focused on the midterms. We gotta vote in November. We have to vote. We have to take back the House. Because we need to put a check on this orange despot cunt monkey wannabe. Orange cunt monkey despot wannabe. He's not a despot. He wishes he could be a despot. He's a wannabe despot. So, like, I'm focused on taking my country back. So when we grow up, like, my little cousins and, like, and my girlfriend and Connor and everybody, like, I just want everybody who's, younger than me and who's gonna be here, I want the world to be, a better place for them. And that starts now. That already started. It already started before now. And November is huge. It's big for us. We need to put a check on this asshole. So what I need, personally, and this might be it, and it's not selfish, because I'm doing this for my country. I love my country. I just hate the fascist regime that runs the government right now. Now, what I'm saying is, a job I'm looking for is a clock in, clock out job. I'm not looking to be one of two waiters at a restaurant that's gonna, fall apart if somebody calls out. I'm not looking to work at a place that, it's not a commission job, but you need a certain amount of, air quotes, sales on the floor. Like, for instance, all right, I'll just put it out there. It doesn't matter. I'm not applying for this job. Best Buy. So I thought that I was going to go work at Best Buy. That would be a good deal for me because Best Buy just took away the drug testing for anything that's not driving and warehouse. By the way, that's an internal memo that went around. So if you didn't know that, if you don't know, now you know. But they also have I just went full Ari Melber on you there. But in all seriousness, they have like these goals that people on the floor need to reach. You need to sell a certain amount of stuff, even though it's not a commission job. You need to have people come in and buy a certain amount of dollars from you per hour, or they're going to review you. Hold on. These people are coming to Best Buy to buy a television. How about I ring them up for the television? You know what I'm saying? I want to go to my job and do my job. If it's stock the shelves, I'll stock the shelves. I need a job that I don't use my brain much. My brain is being focused right now on Least Coast Radio, on the J Porks podcast, on the midterms, and on the resistance. And on, making sure that, we can stop the hatred that is spreading in our country and hope that it's just like a virus and not a disease. If it's a virus, we can fight it off. We have the antibodies. If it's a disease, I don't want to have to put America through a figurative form of chemotherapy here. We need to squash this out now. And it starts in November. It actually starts in your local primaries, but some of them have been happening, and if if you're registered, they've mailed you your vote. I got a voting card in New York. They got voting cards now. I'm gonna ask all my African American friends if they got their voting cards. Just gonna do a tally. Just wondering. So anyway, I'm looking for a job, a minimum wage job that is, not where I'm not using my brain. Clock in, clock out. Boom, boom. You want me to stock shelves? Cool. Want me to work a cash register? Cool. Whatever. Hey, I need off. I'm sick. Okay, fine. A corporation. Something where the schedule is done 2 weeks in advance. Not a place where when I need a day off. Because I gotta be honest, and not the school. The school has actually been very good with that the last years. The last 3 years. Like my student's parent, the principal at that school, they were very, anytime I needed to go, it was good. Anytime I wasn't going to be in, it was fine. There was never any hesitation. But I'm so used to all my life working jobs where, I can't call out. There's no coverage. There's no coverage. There's no coverage. And that puts a strain on you, man. I'm not going to work to advance a career. Because I can't advance my career until we fix our country. My career is on hold. Any aspirations that I had of anything, and I'm not saying that they were big. I'm not even saying what they were. I'm just saying that anything that I was going to do, whether it be, make some serious upgrades to contentconfessions.com, whether it was going to be to, follow the meat puppets around on a tour or something and document things. Whether it was going to be whatever wacky ideas I did have a wacky idea once of being a teacher. That was actually something that I was thinking about. Go to a broadcasting school. These are all things that I am putting on hold right now. I am putting my life on hold because I need to focus every available moment on fixing what these freaking idiots did to our country by voting a meme into the Oval Office. By voting because it's funny. and the Fox News successful smear campaign of Hillary Clinton that's been going on since 1992, okay? 92! You guys won, okay? Enjoy this. We're taking it back. And if we don't, I've said it before, we're all dead. So that's why I started a Patreon. Yes, I went back to it 20 minutes later. Yes, I did. And that was the plan. I'm getting good at this whole podcasting thing. I'm getting good at this whole telling stories and whipping it back around. I'm getting pretty good at it. So that's why we started the Patreon. So when we do get that job, we will be able to use anything that comes into Patreon and put it all back in the podcast. We're going to be like George Steinbrenner did with the Yankees. Make no profit. Oh, we got profit? Let's get another player. Got to win next year. That's just how it is. And because I'm leaving the school and because I work for a temp agency and because it's end of August, I am only going to have 2 more unemployment checks. Because once I don't return to school, I no longer get unemployment because I then resigned my position instead of not having work. And people tell me, Jay, you should just go back to school until you get a job. No. I'm going to get a job. Don't worry about me getting a job. I'm going to get work. But what you could, if you're worried about me getting a job, then until the end of August, on Patreon, all of the tiers are at a crazy low price right now. A crazy low price. And what you get and you just check it out, you get different things, but I just like to give you a broad spectrum of what all the tiers get you. Like if you join any one of these tiers, level 1, 2, or 3, you get bonus content, which is exclusive to Patreon. That means that they will be podcasts, video podcasts, whatever they might be on. They'll probably be on video that don't go out to the masses. That just, go out to the people on Patreon. There's going to be opportunities to get episodes of the Jay Porks podcast, which is on the Dare Network. You're going to get those a day early. Andy's been nice enough to not send us over an injunction on that. So that's good. Andy's being a sport about it. So if you're on Patreon with me, Radiohead, you can get them a day early. You will get personalized artwork mailed to your house. I mean, if you're somebody that doesn't want me to have your address or whatever, and you think like I'm a murderer, then fine. But you have the opportunity to get personalized artwork if you want it. I'll meet people somewhere and have them for you. But anyway, I used to draw, I'm used to drawing on city streets, but I brought all my drawings to pieces of paper. I'm a doodler, so I'm not Picasso, and I'm not an artist, but I sort of am an artist. I'm not an artist, but I'm hungry. It's weird. You can get personalized artwork, not just me drawing something and making copies of it. I'm talking personalized for you every month that you're a East Coast Radiohead. So becoming a East Coast Radiohead helps forward. It just helps, to have like a East Coast Radio fund. It's basically like we're going to use that to get our voice out there, to possibly get more voices out there. And we're going to bring it to the polls in November. And that's what we're going to do. All right. Let's talk about Flint, Michigan when we come back after this. Jay Porks here. And I know I've been a little busy on this East Coast radio stuff, talking about resist, remove, and recreational. But I gotta tell you about one more thing. You should be a East Coast Radiohead. That's right. And you can become a East Coast Radiohead just by going to patreon.com/jporks and check out the offers we have there. There's a low tier, a middle tier, and a high tier. All of those get you bonus content, exclusive personalized artwork, and even a chance to interact with me on a personal level over the phone. We could talk about what's going on in this podcast. We could talk about how we are going to flip these seats blue in November. And we are going to vote like this is our final election, because it might be. Patreon.com/jporks. Become a East Coast Radiohead and join the resistance. Dateline this morning in my house. So I'm downstairs making coffee. Or my dad's making coffee. I was waiting to make coffee. It's a very slow-moving wannabe Keurig. And I said, so I figured out something I could talk about on my podcast that's not going to get usurped by the news cycle. And he said, what is it? I said, I could talk about Flint. Flint, Michigan, the water crisis. He said, the water? That's still going on? And that's why we have to talk about it. Because, yeah, it's still going on. So in 2014, I want to say, Flint, Michigan, it's a town in Michigan, they switched the river where they get their water. And it turns out that their water, the water that they switched to, turned out to be not treated properly, therefore causing over 100,000 people to have ingested contaminated water. People were told, and are still being advised to this day, to use bottled or filtered water for bathing, eating, cooking, whatever, like washing. The water, you can't turn on the water without thinking, oh man, this water might be contaminated. And not only that, but this happened 4 years ago. People are dead. People got Legionnaire's disease. And it's still, and they say it's probably not going to be like 100% fixed until 2020. Why are we not doing more? Why are we not talking about it more? Why is it not headline news? And I get it that there's, Distraction House over there in DC. I get that there's a criminal enterprise, running the country right now. But there's got to be some newscasters that, some journalists that get on TV and like, could I just talk about Flint? Still going on, and I'm not saying... Alright, so I read an article in Axios. I'm just going to read it really fast because it's short. Judge David Goggins has ordered Michigan's health director, Nick Lyon, to stand trial on involuntary manslaughter charges for deaths linked to the Flint water crisis. And the report comes from the Detroit News. The anticipated ruling Monday comes after Goggins reportedly delayed the decision for more than 3 weeks. Lyons is facing 2 counts of manslaughter charges and 1 count of misconduct in office connected to the Legionnaire's disease outbreak, which reportedly sickened 79 people and killed 12. If convicted, Lyon could face up to 30 years in prison and another 5 on the misconduct charge. So, it's not like people are saying, oh, this is random, nothing we could do about it. Someone's being charged with manslaughter. Forget the involuntary part, manslaughter. Being charged with killing people. Okay? How are we not there? How are we not there? How are we not making this a more important thing? And it drives me crazy. Like, for my dad to say, that's still going on? Yeah, people don't realize it's still going on. And I know, and save your population control conspiracy theories here, okay? Not doing that now. Not today. We can do it another day. We're not doing it today. Do not talk to me about Jacob's Ladder, okay? Do not do it. Not today. This is a serious thing. And listen, I'm not in the business of water filtration, you know, so I'm not going to sit here and say, hey man, here's what we got to do. We're going to take this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. I'm not a guy with I'm not claiming that I have the answers. But I do know that if people were still talking about Flint every day on television, Flint would be getting more help than it has received. And a date of 2020 for the water to be safe is unacceptable for any American. Would that happen in Texas? I don't know. These are just questions I'm asking. Is Flint too urban to be saved? I don't know. What is the answer? Why hasn't anybody in the, Department of Health and Human Services or whatever done more about this? Why isn't this a main priority? I mean, what? Because only 12 people died? These people have to shower with bottled water. I mean, I got annoyed when my hot water heater went and I had to microwave water and dump buckets of water over me in the middle of winter. But again, I didn't have to make sure I went to the store and bought bottled water in plastic bottles and had to use that for my cooking, for everything. I've never had that before. And you can ask my girlfriend. I'm not someone who says, "Hey, let's go camping," I'm not someone who's like, "Hey, I don't mind living off water from a well for a week." That's not me. I'm not that kind of guy. And you know what? Michigan is not like, not the Midwest. It's not like, the Dust Bowl. You know what I'm saying? It's not an empty land. It's not, there's a city there. There's people. It's it's thriving, not thriving, but, it's populated. It's not like a farm town. You know what I mean? Legionnaire's disease. The last time I heard about Legionnaire's disease was watching an episode of House. Crazy. So what are we going to do? Well, we can just tweet about it every day. That's what you can do. Guys, you have to tweet and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, whoever your elected officials are in your area. And you tell them, what are you doing about Flint? What are we doing to help them? Some bottled water company hasn't come in and said, hey, we'll bring you a whole, reservoir full of water. I don't get it. And again, I understand that I'm not someone that knows the logistics of the entirety of how to, fix it. But if we're not going to be able to fix it, we can at least continuously tell the world about it so they know about it, so maybe enough word of mouth gets around where someone who has an idea knows how to fix it. Hey, Elon Musk, what up? You're smart. You got something? You know, I mean, maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson will figure it out. But if he has to go on TV talking to people that think Earth is flat all the time, he doesn't have much time to think about what to do about the Flint water crisis. But it just shows you, like, where the priorities are. And I understand that you're listening to me and I don't, and you said it, and you're thinking, hey, Jay, you didn't talk about Flint last week. You didn't talk about Flint the week before. You're only talking about Flint because you're going on vacation. That's not the only reason. I'm talking about it because it's important. Okay? And yeah, I am going on vacation. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that I brought you a podcast that wasn't old news. Yeah. And I'm confident that next week Flint is still going to be a thing happening that no one's talking about, that we need to be talking about. And any Democrat hitting the campaign trail, thinking about 2020, anybody, we need to be talking about Flint. And if we ain't talking about Flint, then we're doing it all wrong. We got to figure it out, man. We have to figure it out because listen, if it was you, they would help you out. I live on Staten Island. Staten Island was heavily affected by Hurricane Sandy, right? Heavily affected. New Jersey, heavily affected. This was years ago. And everybody helped out. It was a national story until it got fixed. Now, there are places in Staten Island right now that, and again, like there are train lines that still have, repairs that need to be done. But for the most part, the only things that need to be replaced from Sandy right now are things that were old infrastructure. Houses by the beach with, low foundations, and why are they're by the beach and they're not high up, and how is that not going to flood? But they had a concert at Madison Square Garden. The whole world raised money to help us out. Why aren't people raising money to help out Flint? And if they are, why don't I know about it? As a liberal, why hasn't that hit my inbox? With the to impeach email, there could also be a link to donate to Flint. In there. There could be that. When MoveOn.org sends me my end family detention sticker, there could be something that says, hey, by the way, Flint. Because they're Americans. In America. And, American citizens, and that's basically what this whole podcast is about, is American citizens have rights. Humans have rights. And to not be human and not give a crap and to just say, they'll figure it out. They'll ignore it. The guy is being charged with manslaughter. The health director of Michigan. Okay? It's not a game. There was not enough oversight, and there's not enough people, solving problems right now. They're too busy thinking of funny Kermit memes. Is this a butterfly? No. But it's a health crisis that's affecting over 100,000 people in a town you may not have been to. But you know what? My bud Christina Rocks from ChristinaRocks.com, she lives in Michigan. I don't know if she lives in Flint. Technically, I don't actually know what part of Michigan she lives in. Possibly outside Detroit. What in case she has some family that's near Flint? What in case some of that Flint water reaches, her? What in case just because you don't know anybody there, You know what I'm saying? To treat people like you should be treated, goes across all faiths and religions and stuff like that. There's nothing in your Bible telling you not to care about Flint. Trust me, I know. I've been going to church every week for the last 3 years. And I've been paying attention. Because I'm a hole poker. Let's talk about more humans being ignored on the other side. Hey yo, J-Porks here, recording my own commercials, and just want to let you know you can keep it locked to East Coast Radio on iTunes for all the latest J-Porks podcast endeavors. And if you keep it locked to AndyDare.com, you will get every Monday the long-form edition of the J-Porks podcast. And East Coast Radio on iTunes is where you're going to get a brand new episode every Friday of Dies in Your House. That's East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. And we're back. So, Puerto Rico just got power back. Remember Hurricane Maria? Yeah. They didn't have power for 11 months. 328 days. 328 days without electricity. I can't go 328 seconds without being connected to the internet. I feel for these people. Puerto Rico was wrecked by Hurricane Maria. And the U.S. government dropped the ball. They dropped the ball on it. Now, I understand that you might say, you might read in the stories that, and this is true, that Puerto Rico's electrical grid was, outdated anyway. But I mean, again, this is another example of neglecting Americans. They're Americans. They're a Commonwealth. Puerto Rico is America. We go there on vacation when we want to. So don't tell me that we didn't have the resources to help rebuild Puerto Rico faster when, let's just call a spade here. Hurricane Harvey was cleaned up in 3 days, okay? Maybe not 3 days, maybe 3 weeks. They didn't go without power for 11 months. Why? You know why. Because the predominant people that were affected by Hurricane Harvey are Caucasian. And the people in Puerto Rico are brown. And the regime, the fascist regime in charge of America right now, cares less about brown people than they do white people. That is a fact, full stop. But listen, J.J. Watt actually probably raised more money than the government did for Hurricane Harvey. But that's not the point. When J.J. Watt was done fixing, Houston or whatever, he could have raised some money for... Is anybody raising money for Puerto Rico? Again, why is this... I feel like I'm doing the Flint bit again, I feel like I did 14 minutes on Flint, talking about why no one is doing anything about this, and now we're sitting here, and Puerto Rico just got their power back 328 days without power. They just got it back. And the 1.5 million people, they're like, it's barely reliable. That might be even worse. Have you ever had a blackout for a few hours? Let's just say the electric company is doing, not the band, the actual electric company. Let's just say they're doing work up the block from you and they have to turn off your power for a couple of hours and doesn't that drive you crazy? It drives you crazy, sitting there without power because you're not used to it. This isn't something you've experienced, unless you're 1,000 years old. And And then it goes back on, and then 10 minutes later, boom, it's off. Isn't that, like, worse? It's such a tease. Like, you kidding? Just leave it off until you're done. Until you're completely and utterly done with this. Leave it off. Crazy. So Puerto Rico, I mean, needs some more help. And they just uncovered some supplies that were, like, buried in the rubbles or something. What the hell is wrong with this country, man? What the hell is wrong with America? How about instead of locking kids in cages, how about you demolish those cages, put up some... Hey, listen, Trump's a builder, right? He's a builder. You build. So why don't you build some housing complexes for some Puerto Ricans to hang out in America until, you know, they can go back to their country until you fix their fucking land. They are American citizens. They are being treated like they're refugees from Syria, which, by the way, you shouldn't treat Syrian refugees poorly. They're just trying to escape murder and certain death. But Puerto Ricans are Americans. And it's insane to me that we will just sit here and we will just, you know, we did enough. What are we going to do? Oh, their country, their poor country. Thoughts and prayers. People got mad, like, when Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York, went down to Puerto Rico. Like, you joking? Everyone should go down to Puerto Rico. Let's go lend a helping hand. And if you become a Least Coast Radiohead on Patreon, I might have money to go down to Puerto Rico. No, but in all seriousness, like, and I have a lot of Puerto Rican friends that are on Facebook not talking about Puerto Rico, you know? I got Puerto Rican friends on Facebook that, you know, share the meme of Trump shooting the jump shot with the paper towels with the LOL crying face, crying laughing face. People who are Puerto Rican. People who definitely have family that live there. How sick and twisted are you, man? How sick and twisted can you be to think it's okay for an entire Commonwealth of the United States to be without power for 11 months? If like Wilmington, I don't know, think of a random city. If like Atlanta, think of a random white city. If Louisville, Kentucky, there you go, Rand Paul take care of it. Louisville, Kentucky didn't have power for 11 months. In fact, not Louisville, Kentucky. The entire state of Kentucky didn't have power for 11 months. You would hear about that every single day. Why? Because the vast majority of people from Kentucky are Caucasian. To my knowledge. I haven't been there. I'm pretty sure the only black people in Kentucky are on the basketball team and play for John Calipari. But they're not from Kentucky. They're in Kentucky playing basketball for a year until they can get to the NBA. Shout out to Kevin Knox on the Knicks from Kentucky. Knicks going all the way to 18 wins this year. Seriously. Get on the phone to your local representative. Get their secretary. Talk to somebody. Go to a rally. Talk to people who are at a protest. Go to a protest that has nothing to do with anything you care about and just get opinions from people. Like, go to a white supremacist rally and say, hey, man. And then when they say, hey, you're a liberal, say, listen, blah, 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 blah. Be a white supremacist, enjoy that. I just want to know what's up with Puerto Rico. Go to a feminist rally. You know, they come up to you, hey, you're a man. Stop. I'm not opposing your views. I just want to know how you feel about Puerto Rico. Go to a March for Our Lives rally. Ask John Papinier, you know? Ask people, get people engaged. We need people to open up their eyes and ears to this. And people need to say, what is going on? Like, the electrical grid is unreliable. Does anyone have any ideas? Yo, Elon Musk, you got something? What up? Thought this guy was the smartest guy in the world. He's launching his car into space. Can't help with Flint. Can't help with Puerto Rico. What's he helping with? Can't keep Tesla in business. What's going on? Going out with Grimes. I don't know how old she is, but she looks like she's like 13 years old. She's probably like 47. I don't know. But like, anybody? Anybody have any ideas? How we can rebuild Puerto Rico? And listen, maybe, and you can be selfish about it. Rebuild Puerto Rico so it can be a good vacation spot for you. Whatever. That helps Puerto Rico's economy. Whatever the reason is, we have to help people, man. You can't not help people. It's a basic foundation of life. If somebody falls, help them up. You know? If somebody is, at the store and they're short a quarter, and you have that quarter in your pocket, you give it. You help people that are in need. I'm not saying give homeless people money. You should give them food, not money. But you help people. If someone's looking for directions and you know where they are, you give it to them. What happened to common courtesy? And don't blame the internet. Don't say the internet courtesy, because common courtesy was going out the window way before Al Gore invented the internet. I know he didn't invent the internet. Ah, man. So listen, guys. Call your congressman. We have to mobilize. Make your voice heard. Tweet about Puerto Rico every day. Every day. It has to remain in the news cycle. A quick thing you could do is go to fcpr.org. And it's a community foundation of Puerto Rico, long established in Puerto Rico, works closely with non-profit organizations throughout the island, and they are helping community first responders. And there's a list of distribution centers and stuff like that on there. They've raised $8 million. Donors, collaborators. So you can go on that website, and that should take you to other websites that you can donate from. If you just Google donate Puerto Rico, donate to Puerto Rico, there's a bunch that'll come up, but I don't want to read any ones that, might be, shady or whatever. Okay. All right. Thoughts and prayers aren't going to help. We need actions and money. All right. Let's come back after this. Hey, yo. J-Porks here. Back to recording my own commercials. And here's the deal. You may have heard me complaining on today's podcast or a previous podcast about suffering through a summer of unemployment. Well, we have a fix for that, and it is called Patreon. That's right. East Coast Radio now has a Patreon page, and all you need to do is go to patreon.com/jporks, and there are 3 tiers that you can subscribe to, 3 tiers you can join to become a member of East Coast Radio, of the East Coast Radio community of Porks Nation. You'll even have a chance to pick the name and all that stuff. And we are not offering just thank yous and shout outs. We got bonus content. There is even a tier where you are able to talk to me on the phone every week. And we will go over what is happening in our country. And you could personally talk to me, Jay Pork. Personal interactions. There's a tier where there's a group. You can join a group and you could affect where the podcast goes that week. I need a community. I need help. Not necessarily money, but I need people to be helping me out. So therefore, that's why I created a East Coast Radio Patreon. Not to be confused with a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. This is not me with my hand out. I have bonus content. Bonus content to offer you. I have tons of it. I have tons of time, and I want to give it to you. All you need to do is join us on Patreon. Become a Patreon. Patreon.com/jporks. Look for the East Coast Radio Patreon page. You'll see me. You'll see me with a microphone and dies in your house next to the name. You'll see that. So just go hit us on Patreon. You will get a thank you. I will know that, and you will have a lot to do with what goes down on the J Porks podcast and everything concerned with East Coast Radio. It's going to be a big year for us. 2018. Let's get it done. In something I most definitely did not want to continue on my podcast with. It's more stuff that continuously goes on that just doesn't, there's no repercussions, there's no decrease in this happening, and it's something that, like Flint, like Puerto Rico, makes the news for one day and then doesn't stick. And that's overall police brutality. I mean, let's be honest here, man. If there's one thing that a lot of us could agree on, it's that way too many, and one is too many, but there have been way too many unarmed black people killed by police than is healthy for any society. And one is enough. But it happens almost on a daily basis. Unarmed black guy being shot. Or, if he's in a state where you're legally allowed to have a gun, shot. Excuse me, officer, I'm a registered gun owner and I'm gonna reach for my gun. Shot. Dead. So what I was looking for is, I was looking for a list of names, and I was just going to I was just gonna read names. Because people only know the Trayvon Martins. They don't really remember the Philando Castillos. And there's a lot of names I don't even remember, to be honest with you. Because I didn't want to click on an article that said 15, here are the 15 high-profile police brutality cases. Because police brutality can't even be boiled down to, oh, it's happening to this person, happening to that person. Police brutality is happening to black people because racism. Full stop. There's no other reason for this to be happening. Black people are seen by white people, some white people, the white cops that commit police brutality. They see these black people as a threat. They see their way of life, them enjoying themselves in what they feel is their land, what they feel is their places. Oh man, I had to move out of my neighborhood because some black people moved in. Really? You had to? Why? What happened? Did they do something to you? Oh no, you just assumed because once on the 11 o'clock news you saw a story about a mugging because you watched some Law and Order, and TV and movies and rap music, gangsta rap. All you see stereotypes. But if somebody was to stereotype you, like if I was to stereotype, Italians or something, they'd come after me. You know what I'm saying? So what we have to talk about is why is it, and give me a second here. So if you're just talking raw numbers of 2017, police killed 1,147 people in 2017. Now, black people were 25% of those people. Now, you may say to yourself, Jay, that's a low number. What are you talking about? Well, black people only make up 13% of the population. Now, I'm no longer in school, so I am not doing that math. But it's equivalent. It's almost like those polls that that show Republicans have a 90% support rate for Trump, but then really it turns out that Republicans are only like 23% of the electorate. Therefore, it's only like 30% or whatever. It's like that. So there's several charts here at mappingpoliceviolence.org. And I just want to... And black people are 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white people. 30% of black victims were unarmed in 2015, compared to 21% of white victims that were unarmed and shot. And where you live matters. You are 7 times more likely to be killed by police in Oklahoma than you are in Georgia if you're black. And 13 of the 100 largest U.S. city police departments kill black men at higher rates than the U.S. murder rate. So, the U.S. murder rate is somewhere at the number 5 here. And we have places like Reno, Santa Ana, Scottsdale, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, Spokane, Riverside, Albuquerque, Glendale, Fremont, Anaheim, Stockton, Madison, Orlando, Fort Wayne, Vegas, Columbus, St. Paul, Long Beach, Kansas City, Irving. So look out. And fewer than 1 in 3 black people killed by police in America in 2014 was suspected of a crime and allegedly armed. Fewer than 1 in 3. That's less than 33%. And I'm going through this chart. I was going through charts really fast. There's a lot of charts here. It's like science. It's like a science project. There's a lot of charts there on that site, and I'm gonna go through some more of them in a second. But I just want to see stats from 2014, 2015. Like, this is not going down. People are not stopping. Michael Brown. You know what I mean? They're just... And where is the accountability? Can we talk about the accountability? Because I'm not sitting here saying, let's, I'm not sitting here listening to NWA being like, F the police coming straight from the underground. Like, no, it's not that. Like, I understand that there is a job to serve and protect. I get that. But if you shoot and kill someone, if you commit police brutality, there should be some repercussions for it. And none of these cops get indicted. None of these cops find themselves without a job, without a pension. I'll never forget, it was 2016 when I went to vote. On the back, they have like these referendum things or whatever, addendums. I don't really know what they're called, but they explain them to you on the thing. And one of the ones was, if a city employee gets convicted of a felony, should they have their pension taken away? Of course they should. That's my opinion. Because that's the whole deal. That's the whole story. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you're going to be like, if a cop commits a crime, they shouldn't be a cop anymore. If a cop kills someone, they should go to jail. Not not only get off on the crime, not only not face disciplinary action at work, but continue to work at the same rate and continue to receive what is going to be your pension in the future. I just don't for the life of me get why that listen, I'm sorry. Let's just call it what if white people were getting killed at this rate, this would be an epidemic. This would replace opioids, you know? This would replace that as the latest hot take epidemic. Just like heroin. When it was only black people and musicians, nobody cared. So, okay. Alright. So when some white people start getting killed by some cops that are unarmed, maybe these white people just got back from vacation. Maybe these white people are not. Maybe they're half and half. But maybe they have a rich white family on one side of the family that has political power. What in case someone related to the Mercer family gets killed by a police officer while unarmed? What in case that? What in case one of Steve Bannon's kids is attending a school that some white supremacist shoots up and kills everybody at? What in case that happens? Then is there going to be an outroar? Well, actually, I kind of went... The going up into a school and getting shot thing is a different point. But police brutality. Let's just say Steve Bannon has a nephew that got harassed by police. You know what I'm saying? While walking down the street for not breaking any laws. Just walking down the street, living his life. What about if Robert Mercer's kid, you know, was inside a convenience store and came out of the store and some cops told him to get on the ground and he was like, what are you talking about? And they just shot him. What in case that happened? Then would there be a big deal? What about Don Jr.? What about if Don Jr. was, you know, what in case one day, and listen, Don Jr. looks like the DUI type of guy. Let's just say Don Jr. one day gets all licked up, gets in his, you know, his BMW, and he's driving down the road, and he's like, you know, it's like a movie. You know, in every movie, you got rich white kid, daddy's car, whatever, driving fast, drunk, blowing off steam. Let's just say you get that, and he gets into a little chase down with the police, right? And let's just say he gets out of the car, and he doesn't exactly surrender himself, and he ends up getting shot and killed. Do you think that there would be an uproar then? I think there would be. And the difference is color of skin. And I'm sorry. I mean, there's no other analysis I have for you to justify color of skin being the difference, besides that it's fucking bullshit. And that it's not right. And human rights, and you either believe, listen, you either believe in human rights all the way, or you don't at all. There is no halfway. There is no Black Lives Matter, no, all lives matter. Well, yeah, all lives do matter. But let's take it this way. If I break my arm, and I go to the doctor, and I say, hey doc, you gotta put a cast around my arm. And the doctor says, well man, all bones matter, and I'm not really gonna concern myself with your arm right now when every bone in your body needs my attention. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, but I get that, but this bone is the one that's the problem right now. And cops killing unarmed minorities every day. And listen, it's crazy because they need to get killed to make the news. You know? People need to get killed to make the news, but there are police out there. Now, listen, I get that a majority of police are good. And I do not hate the police. Can people please? I mean, because, like, my friend Renee's a cop, and, like, I don't want her to hate me. I do not hate police. Let me be honest with you. I'm sort of a wimp. So like if I think I'm in danger, like who do you think I'm calling? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not that kind of guy. But there are, you know, a percentage, and I'm not even saying it's most of them. I don't know how many it is, but it's probably a smaller number than a bigger number is what I'm saying. If it, you know, but there are cops out there that make a living on harassing minorities for no reason besides that they're minorities. And they want to keep their and white supremacy reigns supreme. And it's part white supremacy. There's large portions of it that are white supremacy. But there are black cops. There are Spanish cops, Hispanic cops. There are Asian cops. So there's also, police brutality also has to do with this feeling of power. This feeling of, you know, I have a bit, and again, this is probably a small percentage of them. But some of them feel that this power, that people should respect me. They should, like, you know, I mean, listen, if somebody's breaking the law and a cop tells them to stop and that person doesn't listen, that person violated the law and that person should be punished. That person shouldn't be killed or brutalized or choked out or, you know, authoritarianly taken care of. That person should be disciplined to whatever the matter at hand is. But like you get this a lot. You get a lot of like in Staten Island. It's a Staten Island thing. I used to be a waiter, so I talk to these people. You get a lot of like old Italian guys who like they're cool with not, and let me not say they didn't state that they're cool with it, but like when they'll see like a black kid got shot and he didn't have a gun and he wasn't breaking the law and he was just in his own backyard, people get shot, black kid gets shot, you know, and they'll justify that. But then in the same breath, they'll talk about being pulled over for going 55 miles an hour instead of 50 in a 50 mile per hour zone, and like, oh, fucking pigs, fucking bacon. So which is it, bro? You have to take a side. And I'm sorry that I'm on the side of the rule of law, and that's why we need police brutality to be a thing that is not continuing. And listen, Obama was doing his best to, I mean, he started this whole body cam system and accountability. We need more police accountability, and we're not getting it. And it starts at the top, and you know that motherfucker doesn't care about anybody of color. Not one person. So don't sit there and tell me, well, Jay, you know, I mean, the black kid was doing this, the black kid was doing that. If you really feel the need to shoot somebody, why can't anybody shoot anybody in the leg anymore? What? You can't shoot someone in the knee? What's the problem there? Why must all cops shoot to kill all the time? Is it because you're afraid that person's gonna, when that person lives, they're gonna sue you because you shot them for not breaking the law? Well, if that's something you're worried about, then maybe you should find yourself being somebody that doesn't shoot people that aren't breaking the law. Because when you shoot people that aren't breaking the law, you're breaking the law. And if you're somebody that enforces the law, breaking it is not something that I would suggest as a thing that you should include in your repertoire or in your resume, you know. You know, I don't need it. We don't need it under, you know, strengths. Killing unarmed black men without being held accountable for it. Weaknesses. Spanish women. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just go full racist there. Police brutality. It's not going away. It doesn't stop. And man, to be honest, I will be perfectly honest with you. As a child, man, when I was like between the ages of 5 and 10, like I was one of those people that got annoyed at how many times Al Sharpton was on television, you know, protesting something. It got me so mad. For no reason. It wasn't like I knew what was going on. It's just like, oh, this guy's up here talking again. Like, you know, I don't know what was on TV at the time because I'm in the living room and whatever's on TV is on TV. But, like, I get it. Like, do you understand how long black people have been fighting? Like, I'm a white person. I'm born with privilege. Like, and I feel guilty about that. Like, and I understand that there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do to remedy that. I can't make enough black friends in the world to understand what a black person goes through. I understand that. So don't have any misconceptions that Jay Porks thinks he understands the trials and tribulations of minorities. I can't. It's impossible for me to do so. All I can do is, do what I see people like Al Sharpton doing. What I see leaders doing. What leaders of the past have done. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I'm not those people. I'm just saying what people do is spread the word. And what you have to do is be supportive of equal rights for all. And you have to be supportive of supporting our police also means holding bad police accountable for bad policing. I got my illities and filities mixed up there for a second. But no, supporting the police, you can say you support the police. And listen, you can be someone that says F the police, but guess what? If your job is on the books, you support the police with your tax dollars. So, sorry, you inadvertently support the police. I support the police because I pay taxes. I didn't get, I don't have any high-ranking office like presidency where I can not pay my taxes and get away with it and tell the whole world that I did that and that makes me smart. I didn't, that's not me. I'm just a regular guy, so I pay taxes. So I support the police. But also, part of supporting the police is fixing the way some policing gets done. And that is simply, let's kill less minorities. Let's kill no minorities. Let's train police to shoot people in the legs, in the hands, shoot them in the hand, shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the thigh, shoot them in the ankle. Like, there are ways. Not every person needs to end up dead when they come across police who think that they're in danger. I mean, I can go on about Nazi police state for a while, but this isn't about Nazi police state. This is just simply police brutality. This isn't all cops are terrible. This is, we have some cops that have committed some crimes by killing unarmed black men, and they all got away with it. I didn't see one of those people go to jail. I didn't see one of those people lose their job. And somebody tweet at me at JPorks and correct me if I'm wrong. Utterly disgusting. And you can do something about it. Again, check the stats out. Go to mappingpoliceviolence.org. Right. And look at all the charts. There's a page full of charts here. I wasn't going to go through all of them. But listen, man, it is what it is. And as we wind down here on episode 239 of the Jay Porks podcast, I just want to say thanks for, listening. I understand that this podcast was one that was recorded, before I usually record. I usually record the podcast over the weekend, usually Sunday morning, and I get it to you Monday. This week was a little early. So in the beginning of the podcast, you may have heard me say that this is being recorded early, and I don't have anything on the Manafort verdict. So I'm not sure if that's going down. Well, I recorded this portion of the podcast, our police brutality portion of the podcast, after the Manafort verdict came in. So, the Dare Network is going to get a little bit of a reaction right now. Are you ready for the J Pork's legal analysis? Alright, here we go. How funny is that? Paul Manafort. He's in jail right now. He's in jail. You're home. You're home listening to this on a comfy couch. The rule of law prevailed on Tuesday, August 22nd, when in the same hour, during the 4 o'clock hour, we had a split screen on MSNBC during Deadline White House with Nicole Wallace. We had a split screen of outside the courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia, as Paul Manafort was found guilty on 8 of the 18 charges that were brought against him. Tax fraud, bank fraud, foreign bank account related stuff. He's facing over significant prison time. Plus he has another trial coming up, and we are fairly certain, experts say, that Paul Manafort is actually going to get indicted again. There's actually another indictment coming when Mueller is done with his conspiracy against the United States portion of this investigation. So, I mean, and at the same time that was happening, you had the split screen on the left side, you had Alexandria. At the right side, you had New York City. Because in New York, Michael Cohen, longtime fixer for Trump, his personal lawyer for the past decade, lawyer for the Trump organization, worked with his children. He's a fixer. Michael Cohen turned himself in to the FBI and the prosecutors at the Southern District of New York in Manhattan. And he confessed to 8 felony charges. And again, let me just say, this is in the 4 o'clock hour. We have Trump's personal lawyer who paid off the porn stars. And we have Trump's campaign chairman, the guy that brought Trump across the finish line. Those two people are now felons in the same hour of the same day. So don't tell me no collusion just because Mueller is fine-tooth combing this and he got some tax charges out of the way in Manafort before he gets him to talk about Russia. And again, we have the tale of... And Michael Cohen confessed that he pleaded guilty to these 8 things to try to get, because he wants to get a light prison sentence. And he says he'll cooperate if they need him to. But in court, he also said that he made the payment of the hush money at the behest, at the direction, with knowledge of the candidate. Spoiler, the candidate was not Hillary Clinton. So he told the judge that not only did he pay off Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, not only was he the one that did that, but he said he did that at the direction of the candidate. They can't name Trump. So Trump is now unnamed co-conspirator. Unnamed, unindicted co-conspirator. Where have you heard this before? For more on that, I mean, just go back. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut it short, but I was really only talking about Flint, Puerto Rico, and police brutality in this. I didn't want to go in on this. So for more on that, listen to the latest episode of Dies in Your House, titled #Guilty. It's up on Least Coast Radio right now. I mean, you could easily find it. Anyway, go to jporks.com. That's where it is. I just put it up right now. So it's there. Well, not right now. I put it up last week. It's there. So check it out. I break that down for about 40 minutes or so. That's usually way longer than we go on Dies in Your House. Okay. Alright. Guys, speaking of guilty, that's how I feel. Because as you're listening to this right now, I am literally on I'm in North Carolina on a beach. At a beach house. I might not be actually on the beach. Most likely, I'm playing this podcast to everybody at said beach house and doing running commentary along with it. Because that's what I like to do. But I wasn't going to leave you without a podcast, and I am not. As you noticed, I'm active, and I will continue to be active as long as there is service. I will be tweeting. I will be taking a look at all the corruption going on. So I'm going to get up on out of here. But before I do, I'm going to give you a list of websites you need to go to help keep me in business. First of all, there is concertconfessions.com. That's where you're going to get all your live music, news, and reviews for the fans by the fans. It's good stuff. Good stuff going on over there. Go to andyderer.com. That's where you're going to get all your Derer Network podcasting needs. You can also follow them on Twitter at Derer Network. That's DERER Network. And every Monday they have the J Porks podcast for you. Also, the Andy Derer Show will be rebooting at a date that, because Andy, he loves the podcast. He's not gonna not do it. He's just working out his time, and he's gonna figure out he's figuring out things, but it's gonna be fun. So stick along and listen. Andy has done right by the J Porks podcast, and whatever he needs, we got him over here. So just holla for $1. Go to andyderer.com. And you can get listen to the J Porks podcast over there as well every Monday. If you sign up on Patreon, patreon.com/J Porks, you can get the J Porks podcast on Sundays. But that's going to cost you a couple of bucks. Not many bucks because they're discounted prices until the end of September. So if you're listening to this after September, you missed out. Unless I change my mind. But Least Coast Radio can use your support. Go to patreon.com/J Porks. Also, go to ChristinaRocks.com. Hang the DJ 80. Sorry. Not that anymore. Name redacted. Let's start that over. Even though I can't cut it. Let's start it over. ChristinaRocks.com. Hang the DJ. Every Sunday morning, she has an alternative show that she has on her website at ChristinaRocks.com. It is not affiliated with any radio station. It is Christina Rocks, Time Warp, old school alternative. Not that old school. The stuff you like, the stuff you need, the stuff you may have forgotten. Tweet at her. Tell her that I sent you. And then tell her to check her DMs. Because I sent her a DM concerning her open invitation to come on the J Porks podcast and or Dies in Your House or anything Least Coast Radio, which may or may not be a music-based podcast coming soon. We don't know yet. We have to see. Give me time. So, ChristinaRocks.com. Also, every week, the headlines are powered by, get this, Anti-Quiet. That's right, folks. Let's... Antiquiet.com, your source, bump for equality. But no, seriously, I was listening to the AQ podcast, and that's why I'm just going to call it AQ from now on. I was listening to the AQ podcast. They have one about Fish. Because Fish had that Curveball Festival, but it got canceled. I spoke to you about that last week. And my buddy, pal, founder of ConcertConfessions.com, the guy that made me think that I can be one of these guys at a concert, taking pictures and stuff. He was on because he writes for the Funyun, which is like the Onion but fish. It's a whole world. Anyhow, so I turn on the podcast, and they're from California. So they're saying anti-quiet. And I'm like, I've been saying anti-quiet this whole time. Am I an ignorant New Yorker? So I texted Justin. I said, great job in the pod. He's like, yeah, no, I sucked. Even though he didn't. He's a liar. Go check it out. AQ podcast. Anti-Quiet podcast. It's on the podcast app. iTunes. Check it out. It's good stuff. Anyhow, but what annoyed me was that what was funny is that this is a podcast dedicated to fish. Like, and talking about all things fish and fans and stuff like that. And literally 2 sentences into this podcast, they were talking about Pearl Jam. And if you know anything about me, you know that I'm not very fond of the music of Pearl Jam. I don't hate them as people. I just don't like Eddie Vedder's voice. I don't like their songs. That's just my personal opinion. I know I'm going to get shot for that. So it's a running joke in my life that wherever I go, Pearl Jam follows me around. And if you're friends with me on Facebook or something, you may notice, or like if you follow me on Twitter, like you'll see like my friends will randomly tag me in Pearl Jam stuff sometimes just to be dicks, or they'll post it on my wall like just to be an asshole, my timeline, whatever it's called. So I thought it was so funny. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll hear Justin talk about fish for a little while. And I turn it on, and he's like, fish fans are like this. And then I believe it was Johnny. I'm not sure if it was Johnny or Squirrel who was doing the pod this week, but they were like, yeah, it's just like Pearl Jam fan. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And then the whole thing was like comparisons, and they just follow me around everywhere. This band. If I was Eddie Vedder, would you like me any better? Anyway, and I was told tomato on the anti-quiet thing. But it took me like a couple of minutes to adjust to them being from the West Coast and the lingo, like the way they vernacular, can I say? Not vernacular, the way they talk. It's a little different. It's weird. But then again, people listen to my voice and they say, this dude, I can listen to this dude read recipes. So, I mean, I've got a wacky sense of speaking as well. So, antiquiet.com, your source for quality. Until next week, folks. First of all, please, this week, tweet at me at jporks. Just tweet at me. Say hi. You know what I'm saying? I want to interact with you. Talk to me. Tweet at me at jporks. Go to jporks.com. Like the Facebook page. I believe it's at Least Coast Radio. Or it might be at jporks podcast. Let's interact. Me and you. Go follow Least Coast Radio on Twitter. Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. That's for sure. And until next week, Wacky Weed, Warren Zevon, resist, remove, and never stop fighting until we get recreational. And we ain't talking about parks, we talking about plants. I am Jay Porks. Late. Jay Porks here. And I know I've been a little busy on this Least Coast Radio stuff, talking about resist, remove, and recreational. But I gotta tell you about one more thing. You should be a Least Coast Radiohead. That's right. And you can become a Least Coast Radiohead just by going to patreon.com/jporks and check out the offers we have there. There's a low tier, a middle tier, and a high tier. All of those get you bonus content, exclusive personalized artwork, and even a chance to interact with me on a personal level over the phone. We could talk about what's going on in this podcast. We could talk about how we are going to flip these seats blue in November. And we are going to vote like this is our final election, because it might be. Patreon.com/jporks. Become a Least Coast Radiohead and join the resistance.
Representing Staten Island.
Who's back in your house? dies continuing the podcast in your house. Alright, you just heard episode 239 of the J Porks podcast. And the reason why that was so important is because these things are important. Black kids need to stop getting killed, full stop. Let alone when they're unarmed and in their own homes. Puerto Rico needs to get fixed. Those are Americans. And the water in Flint, Michigan, the Flint, Michigan water crisis, that's prevalent in a sense where it's not going to be fixed soon, and people need water. Like, I didn't have hot water for 4 days or a week or so in January. The past 2 Januaries. Please don't jinx it. And that was bad enough. Let alone not having clean water in my house at all. And I noticed Chris Hayes this week is in Flint. So, he's doing a town hall he's doing town halls over there, or town hall type shows. And also, we have a big storm coming. So, the podcast I recorded before I went to visit the place that has been evacuated. I just want to let you know that I was, there before it ended. So it all ties in. So again, if you guys have any questions, comments, queries, what you do is you hit me up. The best place to get me is Twitter, @JPorks. And, or you can go @Least Coast Radio on Twitter as well. I'm trying to get the followers up as much as I can. And again, we're at like 50 now. Every 100 followers, we're going to do something. If I get to 100 followers, I'll give you that video of It's the End of the World as me doing karaoke. It's the end of the world as we know it without looking at the lyrics. With my hand all taped up from, the urgent care the day before. We'll do that if we get to 100. Just tell your friends. Tell your friends. Take a listen. Dies in Your House. J Porks podcast. Least Coast Radio. We got a lot of things happening, man. And listen, I'm for the same things you are. Freedom. We all want to be free. We all want to love each other. We want to, we want to get rid of the hate. There's too much vitriol. There's too much hate. And, what we need to get is people that are educated need to also stop being pretentious. And people that are educated need to use their education, go to the polls, and not make stupid decisions. And I hope New York does that tomorrow when they go to the polls to vote for governor. To vote for the gubernatorial primary, and attorney general and all that stuff. That stuff's important. So you guys need to read up. Because it starts with local elections, it continues in November, and I promise you guys, if we can take this house back in November, we are going to have some fun podcasts. But what we have to pay attention to, Friday I'm going to be coming to you with some probably more Brett Kavanaugh news. Perjuring himself. We'll see if Collins and Murkowski have any balls. J Porks, Dies in Your House.